Hey everybody, I'm in Barney's lot getting ready to do a video real quick on the care of our donkeys to cover some of the questions for Tuesday. I'm dividing these into multiple videos so that the video is not like forever long and it's like people don't care about part of it. So a lot of people have questions about the care. We do not feed grain to our donkeys. We feed Timothy and orchard grass hay to our donkeys. We are getting ready to start going by weight. We've kind of started a little bit. So the weight of each lot, we will feed the amount that should be fed to a donkey per day off of that total weight that they have and divide it by 3 times a day. So they get fed 3 times a day. If you think about them in the wild, they are not eating all their food just in 2 settings. They're not eating all their food in 3 settings, but at least we've divided it up some and giving them something in their bellies to keep from ulcers and stuff every 8 hours. Now in the winter, we do feed extra depending on how cold it is. If it's extremely cold, that extra hay ferments and it helps keep their body temperature up. So we want to keep them warm. So we will feed extra in the winter, but you want to be careful and not feed to a point that you're going to cause them to gain weight, because donkeys gain weight just by looking at extra hay. That's the reason they're not on our pastures. If you think about it, donkeys' recommended diet is barley straw. Dry lots are recommended for donkeys. If you take a recommended diet of barley straw and I was to go just put them on this lush grass, what do you think is going to happen? They're very efficient about using their food sources. So they would get overweight, get laminitis and founder potentially. So we try to keep our donkeys as healthy as possible. I also feel donkeys are very stoic. There's a great thing about dry lots. And that thing is that I'm watching them eat every time. If they're just out on pasture, I may not realize that one's not eating well. So when they're in here, I know if somebody's not coming up and eating hay. I know if they're chewing their food and it's coming back out, they're spitting it back out and you're not eating. I know then that maybe we've got a dental problem. So it's easier for me to tell health problems, and with donkeys being stoic, I find that very, very important. And people will be like, oh, but that grass, that's wrong to not put them out on that grass. We feed them little treats of it occasionally. They also get out to run at different times of the year, some. And a lot of times they spend more time running than they do eating, to be honest. And their health is what's important to me, not what looks nice. Because I can tell you this, my dry lots are probably a lot cleaner than a lot of pastures because I clean this stuff daily. So for the most part, occasionally I'll miss a day, but I clean daily. So the poop is cleaned up in their lots, the poop is cleaned up in their stalls, the urine daily. So they are eating from a cleaner area, quite honestly. If they were out there and they wanted to be out in this 40-acre pasture, are they going to be up here and getting us? They would be, because they are very social and ours are used to getting loved on daily. So we love on them all the time. I spend a lot of time with our donkeys. We spend a lot of time with them when the husband's not doing hay season in the winter. I probably should go back to that feeding. So we feed Timothy and orchard grass hay. They definitely do not get alfalfa. Now they'll take a little nibble out when they're out there running sometimes, and hopefully the goal is to eventually fence that off so they cannot get to the alfalfa, but they can come out here and run. I'd like to expand their dry lots eventually and get them a track system built, and then have some areas pastured off where they can go out and get out and run that's pastured off and they can't get into the alfalfa fields, but yet they can still go out and run. Water, I do not have automatic waters. I use 5-gallon buckets in the summer, and I do that for a reason. That way, if they're rolling and shavings fly in it, or something gets in it, or if somebody accidentally backs up and poos in it for some reason, which doesn't happen very often, but occasionally it has happened, then they still have 2 other buckets there of clean water to drink. So that's what I like, is that they have multiple buckets of clean water, so if something gets in it, they're not going to stop drinking for the day till I get back out there, which, again, feeding them 3 times a day allows me to lay eyes on them 3 times a day. If they're on pasture and I'm just letting them on pasture, I would be laying eyes on them more just because I'm with them all the time, if I can be, as much as I can be. So having them in here, I lay eyes on them 3 times a day for that. I also check water in between there, whether it's winter or summer, because in the winter I have less buckets. I will say that in the winter, because we use heated buckets, and I don't want I just don't want 1,000 buckets in there plugged in. So we use a great big bucket for the 2. So we like to watch that, and with it being warm, we like to clean that bucket out more frequently in the winter, like every time. You want to dump it and wipe it out. For the most part, I try to. What are you 2 doing over there? they got the bat. It's Melvin and Bam Bam. If they're doing it still when I get off this, I'll show you. But I want to finish this video right now. So that's our watering, because I like to know how much they're drinking, because I don't want impactions. So, and when there's big weather changes, you want to make sure that they're drinking. If it's getting really hot and then really cold one day, and there's a drastic weather change in the temperature, you want to make sure that they're still drinking okay. We do feed some loose minerals and salt, or loose salt, and then we have mineral blocks, but we're actually I'm probably going to look into getting some loose minerals, honestly. We started that, and then I kind of stopped it, and I think I'm going to start that again. So we do that. We do deworm. We usually do fecal counts when we deworm, where we take samples from each lot in. I have not done that in a little while, and I'll tell you why. My old vet retired. I used to just take it, you know, at work, be on my lunch or something. And I had a job where I was driving, and I would just take it and drop it off at the vet's, and then he would call me with their counts, and then we decide if I needed a worm or not, and a deworm or not. And there was quite a few times that we didn't have to deworm. So, you know, that was kind of nice. So I don't want to just deworm them if they don't need dewormed. So I'm not a farm that deworms every 2 months. We did just deworm with ivermectin I think it was Sunday. I think we done that Sunday. I don't know. One day last week we dewormed. I have it wrote down with ivermectin after one of the first frosted a couple times actually, and we dewormed with ivermectin. The next time that we need to, we'll use Panacur, but we will be doing fecal counts before we deworm the next time, and we'll get back to doing those all the time. So that way we know, you know, what we need to do, or if we need to. Vaccines, 5 ways plus a West Nile, which covers for tetanus and all that stuff. Let's see. Deworm, vaccines, minerals, salt. And the things that I think are important if people are considering getting donkeys are, one, making sure you got somewhere to supply your hay, making sure you have a dry lot. Some people will let them out on pasture for like an hour for the day and then put them back on dry lots, but they need to have dry lot access. So dry lots, having a farrier lined up, having a equine vet lined up before you get them. I think those are very important things. I think if you're going to be bringing them at different times, you need to have a second area set up to quarantine. The second one, when you bring it in, you don't want to just bring them in and, you know, put them in the same lot with another one. You want to quarantine. We brush the donkeys. We do not shave our donkeys. We brush them. I brush them about every day in the summer when it's time for them to, because they don't shed out usually till July, August, and they start growing their winter coats. So I try as much as possible to help them. So I even have separate brushes now for each lot. So that way, the only time we've ever had any type of anything here was when we brought Bo and Rain. They had a little bit of lice when we first brought them. None of our others have ever had it. So we treated them once and they were fine. But they were quarantined, so that's part of the quarantine. Then we didn't have to worry about everybody else getting it. But we also have separate brushes for each lot now. So when I go to lot 1, they have a tote with their brushes. Barney must not be feeling too bad. He's got his ball and he's getting ready to go bug Betty. So we'll tilt this down a little bit so you guys can see it. So his lame foot, he had a little bit of a lame foot. I don't know if I said that at the beginning of this because I've started and restarted this a couple times. So I was worried about him limping. And I mean, he does that occasionally, so, but he seems to be doing okay right now. So, and he just had his hooves done Friday, so. Okay, so that, we do keep a lot of toys out here for them. We try to keep hula hoops sometimes. We have the black pipes, they like those. We have the jolly balls, we have the big balls. I gotta buy some more balls, and I need to buy some more cones for the donkeys as well. So I need to resupply my toy supply for donkeys. So, what are they all watching? What's Fancy watching? Maybe she's watching Barney and Betty. So, let's see, we've covered the hay, nope, we don't do grain. We have covered water. We have covered hooves every 8 to 10 weeks for us. They do not get shoed. Donkeys do not get shoed. All of our donkeys are miniature donkeys. I'm trying to remember some of the questions y'all had from that Tuesday. All of ours are minis. All of ours fall within the mini, the size to be minis. All right, I got to stop this though for a second, and I got to film these two over here. Okay, back to that. So all of ours are miniature donkeys. Some are, of course, smaller than others. The reason they're divided into different lots, we got different lots because originally we were breeding. Potentially selling, never sold because I couldn't do it. I'm just not a person who can sell their animals. Now, I can rehome rescues for the dogs and things when I can find homes for them. Does it bother me? Yeah, of course I worry about them, but I also want them to have the best life that they can. So I will, we've rehomed multiple cats. We've rehomed, or not rehomed, but found forever homes for multiple rescued cats and multiple rescued dogs that we personally have caught, whether it be in traps, or I've just got calls that something's been dumped and I've caught it, or I've been asked to take one in that an owner needs to surrender due to not being cared for. So, on that note, I was going somewhere with that, and now I don't. What was that? What was that? So we have the different lots. If you're breeding, you definitely want different lots because you need to have several Jennies if you're going to have a Jack to breed, because he doesn't need to be stuck by himself when he's got one bred and it's close to to delivering. So. And she's close to delivering. So, but I support rescue, y'all. There's a lot of breeders out there, and there's some acquiring a whole lot of Jennies and planning on breeding their babies. And, it's just, there's a lot that need rescued. So I'm a big supporter of rescuing and not breeding donkeys. There's too many need rescued, and I've said in another video, multiple of ours have had 3 homes that we know of at the minimum. So I'm just not. But anyways, that's a whole nother story, and I've already kind of covered that in another video. So that's the reason we had multiple lots. Now the reason I keep some of them separate is because, one, Barney was a Jack for, he's around 13, 14 years old. He was a Jack until he was a little bit older, and he still has a lot of Jack tendencies after being gelded. We may try to put him with Bam Bam. We may try to put him with Bam Bam and Melvin down the road in that group. We may put them over here beside them so they can be next to each other for a while, and then see if we can transition them all together. So, but if you look at the size of Amari, and you look at the size of Barney, you look at the size of Bam Bam, you look at the size of Melvin, you look at the size of some of the girls, Fancy and some of those girls. Here's the thing. The girls will mount each other just like the males will mount the girls, whether gelded or not, and we are not breeding anymore. So I don't want a bigger donkey doing that to one of my smaller donkeys. They need to be with ones their size, in my opinion. But just because I have, Mari's tiny. Osmond's tiny. Thelma and Louise are tiny, but Amari's exceptionally tiny. So, that's the other reason I do it. Some play rougher than others. So, you bring those bigger ones in with these little ones, that don't play as rough, then I don't, So I've got groups together that kind of, work. I would like to move them with some others, or move some others in with them once we expand their lot. I think that would be good for them to have another couple in there, couple Jennies. But if I could move them in with Melvin and Bam Bam, I would, but I just don't know if I want to do that. I may end up moving Blossom and Uptown over here because they're all about the same age, and I think that would be good. Or, you got a lot of younger ones other than Panther. Panther's a little bit older too. He's 13, so not old by any means. He's young still. So, and donkeys can live 30 plus years. We try to take care of most of the medical stuff that we can ourselves. If we, if we don't have to go to call the vet, then of course, but, so that kind of covers some of the questions. Now what I'll do is go back through those questions, and any I didn't answer, regarding, anything else that wasn't answered total in that comment section up until like this. I think I said I would answer the questions through a certain point. And then I will put a new topic up again this Tuesday and try to get that video done quicker. I may be doing some of them. Now, you see him, he's got that big, he's like, hey, I'm gonna move you. I got my herding. But he said, you better get that thing away from me. You're not gonna have it in your mouth in a minute. They're big ball busted, so I gotta get them a new ball out here. So, I don't know, busted, it just deflated, so. But anyways, we'll do another topic. And I'll do one more video to cover all the questions from the first Tuesday, and I'll get all those answered, I hope, within that amount of time. If there's something I don't have an answer for, I haven't looked at them all, so it's been a while since I've looked back at it. If there's something I don't have an answer for, I'll try to find the answer. Hopefully I have the answer to all the questions that were asked, but I'll go back and look through them and make sure. So thank y'all.